Xi Jinping has been unanimously elected President of China and Chairman of the Central Military Commission, PRC. Egyptian authorities plan to boost wheat production in the country to mitigate the high public demand. And the Pride Foundation organized a stakeholders' convergence to discuss women challenges in the country. With this and more coming your way on The World Today. Hello, this is Eyeafrica TV and you are watching the World Today News Bulletin coming to you live from our studios in Banjul. Many thanks for joining us. I am Amadou Kante and now the news in detail. And we begin this news development or bulletin in China because Xi Jinping has been unanimously elected President of the People's Republic of China and Chairman of the Central Military Commission CMC of the PRC on Friday at the ongoing session of the 14th National People's Congress. President Xi vows to promote the country's development trajectory while, of course, accepting public scrutiny. Over the years, the world's second largest economy registered a significant development in various sectors of public services. Here's more details of that in this report.
By a unanimous vote, Xi Jinping is elected Chinese president and chairman of the Central Military Commission after a standing ovation at the Great Hall of the People. The president walks to the podium, taking an oath of allegiance to the Constitution.
I pledge to be allegiant to the Constitution of the PRC, safeguard the Constitution's authority, fulfill my legal obligations, be loyal to the country and the people, be committed and honest in my duty, accept the people's supervision, and work for a great modern socialist country that is prosperous, strong, democratic, culturally advanced, harmonious, and beautiful.
In the past decade, the world's second-largest economy has eradicated absolute poverty and built the largest education, social security, and healthcare systems in the world. She said China has also joined the ranks of the world's innovators while achieving an overwhelming victory and fully consolidating the gains in the fight against corruption. During this year's two sessions, she has met with lawmakers from the Chinese military and armed police force, calling for opening new ground for enhancing integrated national strategies and strengthening strategic capabilities. In 2027, the People's Liberation Army is due to achieve its centenary goal of becoming a world-class force. Lawmakers at the third plenary session elected Zhao Leji as chairman of the 14th NPC Standing Committee and Han Zheng as vice president of China. They also adopted the plan for the second round in a decade of institutional restructuring of the State Council.
Now, moving on, Bakari Mchaju, a young farmer from Fonyi, is into small-scale farming in order to support his education. Bakari Mchaju focused, of course, into agriculture to acquire sponsorship, but to further his studies, which has become more difficult during his learning process. And to have more details on his education journey, let's have more details of that in this report by Mariama Cham.
Like many students in the Gambia, Bakari also faced numerous challenges to earn his education credentials, and for him, agriculture has been the savior. To many, the saying that education is cheap or free is just a cliche, as many students struggle to pay their tuition fee either by doing side hustles or a scholarship package which many heard but never see. Sponsorship to Bakari is just something he heard of but never had the opportunity and the accessibility. Now pursuing his higher diploma in agriculture at the Gambia College, Bakari relied on his small farm where he cultivates vegetables to sell and uses the money to pay his college fees. While narrating the experiences and the challenges he faced during his educational journey, he said despite the challenges he was contented with his limited earning to support his education. Bakari describes farming as a noble venture which every country should embrace.
Because of this agriculture, I was able to pay my school fees and my tuition fees at the Gambia College.
How much do you normally pay?
6,000 per annum. Altogether is 36,000. It is a 3 years course. I'm supposed to pay $36,000. It is the support from my mom and the struggle that I did in the gardening that we were able to, but not yet done with my tuition fee. That is the backbone of every country. If we want Gambia to prosper, we must go back to the land to eat what you grow and grow what you eat.
Bakari also highlights the challenges he has as a young farmer. He, however, urges young people to be involved in agriculture for job creation and opportunity.
Difficulties is improper fencing, water, pest and disease. I'm calling all Gambians to come and involve both young and old into agriculture production so that we can push our country further. Without agriculture, we will be going backwards. Because if we are to, to focus our minds on these importations, we will not, our development will be dragging behind.
Bakari and many other young people in the Gambia are creating jobs for themselves in order to support their education, either secondary or tertiary education. Reporting for Eyeafrica News, I am Yahya Jammeh.
Now, elsewhere in the continent, mobile phone usage is gaining momentum among young people in the Democratic Republic of Congo thanks to the influx of Chinese affordable smartphone brands in the country. The affordability of Chinese phones has availed many people the opportunity to be up to date with social media trends and also communicate with friends, especially for those in remote parts of the country. Now, despite the prevailing challenges in the country's digital sector, DR Congo has over 40 million subscribers, or mobile subscribers, according to the International Digital Corporation. Let's have more details of that in this report.
The captivating impact of digital technology. Young Congolese spend hours on their smartphones chatting with family and friends. The influx of affordable Chinese smartphone brands has enabled many of them to acquire phones.
Telephones from China have helped many low-income earners in our country get smartphones. Most of them can't afford iPhones and other high-end brands. Our business is doing well.
The Techno brand is very popular in many provinces across the DRC. Some of the Chinese smartphone brands like these sell for less than $200 in stores around Kinshasa. That has enabled many young people to buy them and keep up to date with the latest social media trends. Digital entrepreneurs in the DRC face challenges of poor infrastructure, high costs of IT equipment and financial services. But that hasn't stopped the mobile phone market from booming. According to statistics from the International Data Corporation, the DRC has more than 44 million mobile phone subscribers.
The Chinese bringing the smartphone in Africa at the affordable price was a good thing. Because right now, if you see the population in Kinshasa, you see the boom of population, people coming from all over. And if you go around Kinshasa and go anywhere, even the people are selling groundnuts, the people are selling cassava, they carry smartphones. And I think that is helping a lot the Congolese population.
The DRC is a major producer of coltan and cobalt, which are the raw materials used for making components for smartphones. Chinese companies have invested heavily in mining cobalt and coltan in the country. Those elements make their way back into Congolese society through smartphones. Some Chinese manufacturers have designed phones with long battery lives to cater for thousands of Congolese living in rural areas where access to electricity is a problem.
And from the report in DR Congo, next to South Africa, where the country's economic growth has dwindled by 1.3% in the fourth quarter of 2022, which has been largely attributed to the persistent electricity crisis in the country. 7 out of the 10 key players in the country's economy have also declined by 2.3%, and agriculture has been the least performing sector. Now, the long-standing energy crisis in the Rainbow Nation disrupted most services in the country, which has triggered so many concerns in different sectors. Let's have more details of that in this report.
After rallying in the third quarter of 2022, GDP declined by 1.3% in the fourth quarter, far worse than market expectations of a 0.4% contraction, largely due to the worsening power crisis.
And we know in Q4 of 2022, we had one of the most intense load shedding episodes. So all of this is driven by the load shedding that we have experienced. You can talk about the mining sector, you can talk about the manufacturing sector, you can talk about even agriculture.
7 of the 10 industries that make up the South African economy contracted. Finance, real estate and the business services industry shrank by 2.3%. Mining also fell despite a solid performance during the year. It was agriculture, though, that suffered the worst decline.
If you look in terms of the sectors that are contracting, 7 out of 10 sectors, except for personal services, construction and transport, all the other sectors contracted. And if you look at the energy intensity of the sectors that contracted, you can see it is the sectors that are reliant on electricity. Roughly about 30% of the agricultural field crops are reliant on irrigation, and when you have load shedding, you can't irrigate. So that's why we are seeing that 3.3 contraction in agricultural services. So it's really load shedding, self-inflicted of course, but it has been long coming. It's not something that is new.
This year has been by far the worst in terms of load shedding. There's no doubt the first quarter will also see a GDP contraction. Some economists expect a recession.
We might end up with a negative growth number again in Q1 because of the load shedding, given the intensity of where it started. Once we have Q1 negative, we are already in a technical recession.
A recession will just add to South Africa's economic woes. Just 2 weeks ago, South Africa was added to the grey list of countries for poor governance around money laundering and terrorist financing. It may take years before it can exit that list. An electricity minister has been appointed to help fix Eskom. It's still too early to tell whether this will help. In the meantime, every single day of load shedding is costing the economy.
And that reporter is coming from South Africa. And you are watching the World Today News Bulletin coming to you live from our studios in Banjul. And with that reporter, we now take a break and come back shortly.
South Africa Global is the first and biggest private estate developer in the Gambia and present in 7 other African countries. We take pride in leading innovation in all spheres of real estate sector in the Gambia and beyond. As such, we are launching the development of the first smart and modern office and retail towers in the Gambia called TAF Twins. The TAF Twins is located in the heart of the Kanifing institutional area and 10 minutes drive away from Banjul. TAF Twins is designed to have 5 floors of office spaces ranging from 50 square meters to over 1,000 square meters with 2 elevators, central air conditioning, 24 hours electricity and water supply, with the ground floor reserved for banking, supermarket, restaurant and coffee shop. For your bookings and reservations, please call now on 376-2333 or 776-2333. Thank you.
All right, welcome back. This is Eyeafrica TV and you are watching the World Today News Bulletin coming to you live from our studios in Banjul. And once again, many thanks for joining us. Now, as part of events marking International Women's Day in the Gambia, Paradise Foundation on Thursday brought together different stakeholders to deliberate on pertinent issues affecting women, such as substance abuse, drug and sexual exploitation, among other issues. International Women's Day is a day set aside to celebrate women in all walks of lives around the world. Each year, Globally, a team is selected to discuss current issues affecting women's development, and the theme for this year's Women's Day is focused on digital oil, innovation and technology for gender equity. Now, speaking at the event, Pastor Forbes, a renowned pastor, discusses the implications of young people on bad behavior on health, society, the economy, and other related matters. He elaborates on the dangers and complications of substance abuse and its effects on society.
Substance abuse is a risky behavior. Unsafe sexual practices, reckless lifestyle like driving, spinning, delinquent behaviors. All these things have an effect on, number one, your health. Drugs can cause liver damage, respiratory problems. Unsafe sexual practices can give you sexually transmitted infections, unintended pregnancies, VVF, and all the attendant reproductive health issues.
Commenting on social media's influence on young children, this was unanimously agreed by the participants that most of the things portrayed on social media are not real, but just an illustration. Yahya Jammeh, a journalist, explains her experience as a media personnel and the responsibility she has as a role model to young people.
So social media influencers have a huge responsibility. In journalism, we have something called a journalism code of conduct. Social media influencers do not have a journalism code of conduct. They have conscience. They also have a moral responsibility because they do not have this conduct on paper. So it's what I call a moral responsibility that they should go by, objectivity that they also have to go by. As a person who is on social media and also on TV, when an issue is a court case, I do not comment on it. When an issue is controversial, I do not comment on it, because the moment I do, there's a young girl sitting there who will say, "Jena ba nila ko interprete, jena ba wahambi muy diga." So as social media influencers, we have a responsibility to be objective as to what we put out there, because there are people waiting for every single action that we do for them to follow suit. That is how dangerous it is.
Yahya Jammeh, a journalist speaking there, and before her, you heard from Pastor Forbes also speaking on the Paradise Foundation event organized to mark International Women's Day, and hopefully we'll bring you more details of that event in our subsequent news editions. Now, moving on, Egyptian authorities are planning to boost wheat production in the North African nation due to its high demand, among the Egyptian population. Now, wheat is a key component for bread and essential food commodities in Egypt. Those authorities are outlining plans to enhance its production. Now, the move is necessitated by the effects of the Ukraine conflict, which have made the importation of wheat into the country more costly. And let's have more details of that in this report.
Wheat is a strategic commodity in Egypt. It's the main component for bread, an essential food item in every Egyptian meal. Egypt consumed almost 21 million tons of wheat in 2022. Half of the produce, which is equivalent to 10.5 million tons, was imported, with 80% sourced from Russia and Ukraine. The two Eastern European nations are Egypt's biggest supplier of wheat. The outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic in 2020 and the conflict in Europe led to a slowdown of wheat shipments and a hike in import bills. This pushed the government to work on increasing production to slash import costs.
We are working on three fronts. First is to create seeds that adapt to our climate, and so far this has been a success. We have more than 10 types of wheat with international quality. We established a full system to reduce waste, and now we are saving 20 to 25% of wheat waste and water consumption in irrigation.
The government also expanded its storage facilities, building new silos with a capacity of 3.5 million tons of wheat, up from 1.25 million tons in 2020.
At the Ministry of Agriculture, our role is to grow horizontally and vertically. Besides adopting the highest yielding wheat, we are working on mega national projects to cultivate huge desert land in the New Delta and other areas, and are steadily achieving our targets.
Official statistics show land under wheat production in Egypt rose to 3.6 million fidans in 2022, up from 3.4 million fidans cultivated a year earlier. Meanwhile, Egypt's wheat production hit 10 million tons in 2022 from 9.5 million tons produced in 2021. Experts say the data on local production is promising, and there's optimism that the government would be able to achieve its targets to produce at least 70% of its wheat needs by 2030.
And that agriculture-related report has, of course, coming from the Egyptian capital, Cairo, eventually brings us to the end of this news edition. But for more details on this and other stories, as always, as ever, you can visit on our website on Eyeafrica.tv. The World Today News Bulletin will return on Monday. But for now, many thanks for the pleasure of your company. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and do have a pleasant weekend ahead. Bye for now.